There is a primary in the race for Maricopa County Sheriff. On the Republican side, Joe Arpaio wants his job back after suffering the biggest defeat on the county-wide ballot in 2016. Also on the ballot, Arpaio's former top aide, Jerry Sheridan, both appeared in court many times in the racial profiling lawsuit. And a gentleman named Mike Crawford, has worked as a Glendale cop. He's got many issues of his own. Roy, are Democrats rooting really hard for Arpaio in this race? Do you want to see him on the November ballot?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think Arpaio is terrible, and anything that legitimizes him, even if it's a primary victory in a Republican primary, I think is a bad thing. That being said, if he is the nominee, I think you're going to see a lot of support and resources coming out to help Paul Penzone, because I think certainly from the Democratic perspective, we don't want to go backwards and deal with the kinds of things that we dealt with Arpaio. And I think there are a lot of reasonable Republicans that don't want to do that either. And so certainly if Arpaio's the guy, I think you're going to see a groundswell of support, even more than you already have for Paul Penzone.
And Penzone defeated Arpaio soundly in 2016. But does having Arpaio on the ticket help Democrats elsewhere on the ballot make their case against Republicans, Roy?
Well, I mean, I think what is ultimately going to make the case against Republicans is going to be President Trump. I mean, I kind of view Arpaio as Trump before Trump, right, in a lot of ways. And so Trump is obviously at the top of the ticket, and I think he's going to be the primary focus in a lot of the things he's done when it comes to issues like immigration, and then certainly when it comes to the COVID response, which I think is at the top of everybody's mind. I think that is what's going to be, the primary driving factor for turnout on the Democratic side.
And Kirk, as a Republican, is this a race you just wish would go away?
Well, look, apparently Sheriff Joe is going to continue to run for office, and Republicans will have to deal with this. But look, it's hard for me to see how Joe Arpaio's mini-me in Sheridan, the guy who was with him through all of this, can be, as my 17-year-old would say, the OG. If you like Joe Arpaio, you're not going to like mini-me version of that Sheridan represents even better. So Joe is the OG, and I would expect him to win that primary. But look, here are the hard facts. If you are a Republican, Sheriff Penzone has done a pretty good job. It's run a pretty scandal-free administration. He won going away last time. There's nothing in this dynamic that has changed from the last time they faced off. So look, I think if I'm in Sheriff Penzone's camp right now, I'm feeling pretty good about our November chances, no matter who wins the Republican primary.
All right, let's go do a quick rundown of a couple races, sort of outliers. Maricopa County Assessor's race. Former Democratic candidate for the U.S. Senate, Rodney Glassman, who is now a Republican, has been for a few years, taking on Assessor Eddie Cook. Cook was appointed by the county board in the wake of the Paul Peterson baby trafficking scandal. It's basically Rodney Glassman being on the ballot again that draws a lot of attention. Roy, he was once on your side. Is this the time Rodney Glassman wins? Is this his moment?
It might be. I mean, I have so many Rodney Glassman jokes I can probably tell, but I'm gonna avoid that.
Please.
I think that most voters, I think, in Maricopa County don't want to be thinking about the county assessor's office anymore. Certainly not as much as we've had to think about that because of the recent controversies. But I think after the primary, whether it's Rodney Glassman or the other person running, the incumbent, Maricopa County, all the races are going to be competitive, whether it's county attorney or sheriff, as we talked about, or assessor. And that's because Maricopa County is, I think, the premier battleground in the country. And if we're in a world where Mark Kelly is dominating Maricopa County, like it looks like he is right now, and even Joe Biden is very competitive and maybe even winning Maricopa County, I think that is going to have an effect down ballot with all these county races to make things more competitive. And that's going to include the assessor's race.
Kirk, do you agree with that? Does the assessor's race make any difference? And why do we even need an assessor who taxpayers pay $75,000 a year to do the job that's already being done by the deputy assessor?
Hey, look, I think Rodney Glassman is going to make a great corporation commissioner. Treasurer. A county attorney. U.S.
what
Senator
you're doing there.
as a Democrat, right? So look, he's found a office that I think is one of those down ballot races that nobody pays any attention to, where the slightest bit of name ID can make a difference. He's been around long enough, been on the ballot enough that maybe this is one that he can pull off, and maybe we'll get a new rendition of Sweet Home Arizona again. I don't know. Look, good question. Should county assessor even be an elected position? I think a lot of people would say no. It is a ministerial function. It's really not a partisan issue. Frankly, neither should the sheriff's office be a partisan issue. I just don't think that it's very popular with the voters to take away their opportunity to vote, even though in this case it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Okay, and last, let's go outside Maricopa County for a minute. Sylvia Allen, State Senator LD6, do I have that right? Is it LD6?
LD6. Yep.
LD6, Navajo County, Northern Arizona. Held that seat for a long time, and she faces a challenge from another name we've heard many times in the past, Wendy Rogers, perennial candidate. Right. I think this is her 6th run for office. And Kirk, you think she can pull it off this time against Sylvia Allen?
Look, Sylvia Allen comes from the Tenney family, which is White Mountain royalty. She served that district for a very long time. And Wendy Rogers doesn't live in the district, apparently. But she has been on the ballot in that district for, I think, 4 cycles now. She's been remarkably good at raising money, considering where she's ended up in each of those campaigns. The short answer is yes, Wendy Rogers could win that primary seat.
Wow, that would be a shocker.
Could she win the general election or hand that seat to the Democrats in the state Senate and maybe flip the Senate from Republican to Democrat? I think that's the question that a lot of Republicans are beginning to ask themselves.